Well, it was another hot but also dry day in the state of South Carolina for today, a day that we kind of expected. And honestly looks like that type of weather conditions could continue as we move on. But the main thing that I want to go on and talk about tonight is what you can see on the title screen right now. The weather furnace is turning on. And we've been talking about heat. We've been talking about how it's going to get dangerously hot as we move into next week, potentially even going further than that. And honestly, that's what I mean by the weather furnace. And we'll get into the models, we'll get into the pattern, all that kind of stuff. But first, if you have not hit the like button yet or the subscribe button yet, go on and do so. Also hit the share button. We right now have around 7 people in here and only 2 likes. So go on and hit the like button if you have not already. And also hit the subscribe button as we are at 756, trying to get to that main goal of 800. So looking at what's on tap, mostly dry with light winds tonight, near normal high temperatures tomorrow. Building heat with heat indices 100 to 110. Heat advisories possible going through the weekend and Friday. Heat advisories also possible next week. And then persistent summertime conditions continue into mid to late week of next week. So let's go in and see what's going on in terms of our radar. So currently we're not seeing anything rainfall wise. Looks like that we are looking at nice dry conditions statewide, but I don't think anyone again is shocked by that. And if we go in and check and see what's going on throughout the entire U.S. weather news wise, we have some rainfall in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, also some severe weather going on over inside of Illinois, Indiana, and then even over in Wisconsin. We do have some more severe weather going on inside of Colorado, to where there's a couple of tornado warnings over there, some severe weather in Wyoming, and then if you look even further to the west, we have more rainfall from the Pacific Northwest down throughout the Intermountain West into the Four Corners region. So a lot of rainfall and a lot of severe weather going on right now nationwide. We look at what's going on in terms of cloud cover. We have some cloud cover trying to move its way towards the south and east, off and away from South Carolina. Right now located in the low country, you see some of the Grand Strand areas. And then as you go into the upstate, going on into the Midlands, you can see a lot of that cloud cover kind of going away, looking pretty clear up there. Looking at our cloud cover for the future, though, as we move into tonight, you can see how that cloud cover does move through, continuing to stay kind of in our area. You continue into around tomorrow morning, going into tomorrow afternoon. That cloud cover again stays with us even as you go into tomorrow evening, tomorrow night. So cloud cover is going to be a big storyline for us as we move into the next couple of days. And then here's Friday right here. We're still looking pretty clear. Now for our current temperatures right now, we're talking about 77 in Summerville, 77 in Charleston, as well as 79 in Hilton Head Island, 79 Orangeburg, and 76 in Georgetown, 75 in Conway, and 80 in Florence, 77 in Lugoff, and 74 in Newberry, Greenville, Spartanburg at 74, 75 in Clemson, and 75 from Gaffney over into Rock Hill. Air quality for tonight, it does look like that we're going to be mostly in the good category, but a good amount of us also is inside of that moderate category up there inside of like Rock Hill and York counties, going down, kind of down the I-77 corridor up there. And so if you're in those yellow areas tonight, you just make sure that you're paying attention towards the air quality. Low temperatures for tonight, we're talking about 65 in Greenville, 63 Spartanburg, as well as 69 in Columbia, Sumter, 68 Florence, 67 in Kingstree, 70 Georgetown, and 75 Charleston, 73 Hilton Head Island, and Myrtle Beach. High temperatures for tomorrow, we're talking about 89 in Greenville, 91 in Spartanburg, 90 Anderson, and 89 in Lawrence, 93 inside of Aiken and Orangeburg. Barnwell is included there. Moncks Corner is in there. 89 from Hilton Head Island all the way up into Georgetown, and 86 in Myrtle Beach. Rainfall as we go into tonight, going into tomorrow night. No rainfall is expected, so we are looking nice and clear statewide. And just in terms of what we're going to see in terms of, you could see an isolated shower going on. Again, it is summertime, so summer always could bring some moisture with it. But if any shower activity does happen inside of the state of South Carolina, it's not really expected to go on and really drop any sort of accumulation. Now for our SPC outlook for tonight, thunderstorm activity is not expected for tonight, tomorrow. According to the SPC, They do have a little risk of thunderstorm activity in the far upstate, yeah. I do know. I do know that I just said no accumulation really is expected as we move into the next 24 hours. But once we get into the short-term models, I'll show you what I'm talking about and about how some of that rainfall, some of that thunderstorm activity could maybe happen later on. Again, we'll get into that. Friday, though, the entire state has a risk of rainfall and thunderstorm activity, so that is something as well to go on and kind of see the change of, and how we have no chance of thunderstorms tonight to maybe a little chance on Thursday to Friday, the entire state having a risk of a thunderstorm. Fire weather is not expected. Excessive rainfall is not expected. Now for the crazy score for tonight, we're at a 9. If you have no idea what the crazy score is, it is a score that we see how active our conditions are throughout the entire state of South Carolina. And right now, like I said, we're at a 9. We're at a 9. So calm, no significant weather, clear skies, maybe could be partly cloudy to mostly cloudy skies, but not completely cloudy, not completely cloudy. Now, as we go in and take a look at the models, we're going to start off here at around 9 o'clock p.m. And you can see, according to the models, what they have is they do have some showers going on over here inside of the PD area, inside the low country. Now, obviously, if you want to look at the radar doesn't show that. So that's just one thing about the models, that they may show some precipitation, even though it's not really going to happen like that. And, that's why models aren't really considered gospel, just because they're not 100% correct. Now, as you move over to around 12 o'clock in the morning or so, it still has moisture, but it moves off relatively quickly. And then as you go over into around 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock p.m. on Thursday or so, rainfall activity does continue and does try to pop up. Remember what I said, no accumulation was really expected as of 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time when they updated that last map. And according to the HRRR, when this was updated around 3 or 4 o'clock, it also had no risk, or it does have like a little risk here of some shower and storm activity kind of going on. So kind of a little bit of a disagreement, it seems, between the models and the actual National Weather Service. But I will say that the HRRR, it doesn't really show too much in terms of rainfall. If anything, just isolated to widely scattered shower and storm activity. But that's all. And it shows something, potentially in the upstate later, like late Thursday night, going to like very, very early Friday morning, 4 or 5 a.m. or so on Friday. It shows some rainfall kind of going on. And then as you move into around 2 o'clock p.m. on Friday, this is going to the afternoon, you're seeing some showers and potentially storm activity move in from Georgia up into the Midland areas. So a good amount of scattered showers and storms could potentially develop as we go throughout the next 48 hours, but nothing widespread, nothing that's going to really cause us to have a major flooding threat or major severe weather threat. Now, what about for our long-term future? We're going to start off here on this Friday. And as we just go in and push this forward, one main thing that you're going to notice here is that you do see rainfall. You do see some rainfall. You do see some thunderstorms, maybe going on. But one thing that you really don't see too much is a big storm system coming in. Yeah, you see this low pressure up here maybe this weekend, kind of trying to bring in something there. But one thing that you don't notice is you don't notice a big old storm system coming in trying to drop heavy amounts of rainfall. You just see isolated showers, scattered showers, and storms kind of moving in here and there just throughout the state, even as you move into later on next week, going into Friday, going on over into Saturday of next weekend, not this weekend Saturday, but next weekend Saturday. Then as we move into the week after, we start to finally maybe try to see something early June in terms of a major storm system, maybe bringing some beneficial rainfall. But again, you're not seeing anything too bad. You're not seeing anything that's really concerning. You're not seeing anything that's really concerning. And so you may be asking, well, why is that the case? Why is that the case? Well, I was about to show it right now, but apparently I think something is going on with the website that I use. Yes, it is. Okay. Well, I guess I can't use it. That's unfortunate. But you may be asking why this is happening, though. And honestly, the main reason is kind of, we talked about it last night. I would love to show it, but on the app that we showed it on yesterday, because I really do like that one, but I think it's down right now or something. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. But you can kind of see, according to the GEFS, this was around 300, this is around at the 366 hour mark. Let me see if they got it all the way out to around 384 hours. But you can see around like 1.5 inches for some spots. You see like 1.5 inches in the Midlands. You see close to 2 inches in the upstate. You see around close to 2 inches near the coastal areas. But 2 inches of rainfall over like 384 hours, again, that's like 2 weeks. That's around 2 weeks or so. Only getting 1 inch of rainfall for some spots. Not a whole lot. That's not a whole lot. And so that's, just showing you about not having those major storm systems is not having that much confidence in those major storm systems. That's just what it will do to you. Look over there in the western parts. Look in Louisiana. Look in Arkansas. I know not South Carolina related, but you can kind of see how we have like 1 inch. You see like 1 inch over here, maybe even less than 1 inch in Texas. I know, again, not considered South Carolina, but over inside of like Texas, for example, they may only see like 1/2 inch of rainfall in some spots over the next 300 plus hours. Very, very little. Then the European over the next 360 hours, some spots not even getting up to 1 inch. You see some 2 inches inside of the low country, a little bit in the Grand Strand, which is good because obviously we know we have a drought going on right now. And remember, Drought Monitor does come out tomorrow. Make sure that you're there for that. But you see around maybe 0.9, around 1 inch or so up there in the upstate. You see around 1.6 in the Midlands. You see around 1.8 over here inside of the PD areas. And so, not like too much of a disagreement between both of them. I think the European definitely has the lesser of the two, and I would love to see the GEFS happen over the European one, though. So, now that all of that is out of the way, we know that precipitation is not really going to be too much of our friend, even though we desperately do need it. What about temperatures? Temperatures, and this is where the whole furnace comes into place. Here's where the whole furnace comes into place. The weather furnace is turning on. This is where this comes from. This is exactly where this comes from. Because if you go on and take a look at, let's go into Thursday, going into Friday, you're not seeing anything too bad. You're looking pretty good. Saturday comes along. Okay, 10 to 15 degrees above average. I mean, that's pretty warm right there. That's maybe some upper 90s or so. But, we're expecting that. Remember, I said how we were going to be receiving some heat advisories potentially this weekend going into next week's. Because it's going to be a hot weekend. It is. So, okay. Now, what happens if we move over into Sunday? Moving on into Sunday, we're seeing some cooler, temperatures kind of moving in. A little bit kind of here and there. But again, warmer air still dominates, even as you move into next week, going into Tuesday. And then you start to see those warmer temperatures really starting to take shape. But then you get a little bit of a cold blast maybe midweek or so. But it's summertime, so it's not really going to do much. You then go over into next weekend, and now we're talking about close to 20 degrees above average as we move more and more into July. 20 degrees above average or so, potentially. And then as we move into like the last like early part of July, we're still seeing some warmer temperatures like during the daytime, cooler than average temperatures during the nighttime. And overall, warmer temperatures are definitely going to take shape as we move throughout the next 384 hours. Now, what does those actual temperatures look like? It's good and all that we can see the averages, but what about the actual temperatures themselves? Well, as we move into tomorrow, we know 90s coming along. We move into Friday, some more upper 90s trying to come along. Saturday, some widespread upper 90s, statewide. And then as we move into Sunday, you even see some 100s coming in potentially as we go later on into the weekend. You go into next week, Monday, through into Tuesday and Wednesday. Some higher 90s, 99, close to 100 in some spots once again. And watch as you move more and more into Thursday and Friday. And as you get into the weekend, now I know this is 216 hours out. I know that this is not really the best model potentially to look at this for, just because it's one model run. And once you get around 200 plus hours out, that's when things start to get a little bit unreliable. But you can see as you move later on into July, when we start to get those 20-degree above average temperatures, you start to see hundreds come into play. And no, it's not heat index values, it's actual temperatures. You move on over into Saturday, the weekend, hundreds. And again, this is not heat index values. These are actual temperatures up into the upper hundreds. I mean, 108, 109. But again, like I said, not to be taken as gospel. It's over 200 hours out, so this is subjected to change for sure. But if this does happen right here, we could be talking about records potentially trying to be broken here as we go more and more into July. And this is July 4th. I mean, so everybody's going to be outside. Everybody's going to be having cookouts, doing games, doing stuff like that. And it's 110 degrees as a real temperature. That would be not the best idea. That would not be the best scenario to see here, especially for when it comes to heat and illness, and just honestly just not a great sign to really see this far out. But we know that things are going to change. And one thing that we can look at real quick and see what's going to happen is with the ensembles, because what the ensembles right here will tell us is what's happening on an average basis. And so I like to look at this one further on. You can see that even some of the averages are around 99 degrees, getting close to 100 as we move into July 3rd. July 4th, we're looking at some high 90s statewide. So a good amount of models are near or above that 99 degree mark for a lot of us. So that is, again, pretty high confidence that we are going to be near 100 degrees for July 4th. Now you go past that into the future. We go into Monday, like around like the 6th or so, going into Tuesday, being in the 7th. Things cool down a lot, and we don't see those higher 90s. It kind of chills out after the 4th or so. So, honestly, the main thing to take away from this is definitely to make sure that if you are doing stuff for July 4th or somewhere in that time frame, to make sure that you know what your plan is, and to make sure that you have plenty of water, plenty of, cooling stuff, supplies, cooling, fans, whatever it may be, or just spend your time indoors, whichever one is the most viable for you. Now, as we go on and look at the actual heat index values, these are the actual feel-like temperatures. As we go later on into this weekend, we know that it's going to be hot this weekend. I mean, feel-like temperatures up past 100 degrees. We go into Sunday. We're up near like 101, 102, 103 going into Sunday. Go over into Monday. Still a bunch of hundreds coming into play even as you go into midweek. And then as you move more into the end of next week, going over towards July 4th, well, what do you look at? You see a bunch of 109s. You see some 110s. You see some 112. So that's well above heat advisory level. Would that be extreme heat warning? I don't think that it would be. I think for some areas it might be. For some areas, I have to look at the criteria because obviously we have 4 National Weather Service offices in the state of South Carolina, and each one of them is different. So we're gonna have to go and check on that. But this is your early warning. And that's pretty much all I had to say here for the models, and this kind of explains why the weather furnace is turning on. This is your early warning. This is your early warning here. So let's go on now and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us here at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say for tonight. Starting off, my Aunt Lula was here first tonight. She says, good evening, everyone. Today in Georgetown, we had a hot day. Today's high was around 86. Currently, it's 76. I spent most of the morning doing yard work beginning at 6:30 a.m. this morning. Well, I'm glad that you were able to get up early and get all that yard work done because I know it definitely did get hot. Now, for what's going on over at my house right now, I'm going to have to check it on my phone because it's like a bunch of apps just don't want to work right now on my computer. But if I go on and check currently what's currently going on, I'm going to move on to the next comment. My cousin Cheryl says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, weatherman. The weather has been good in Philly. I hope you all have been having a good weather. Love you all. Be blessed. Love you as well. And honestly, yeah, just hot. Just hot for the most part, but nothing else too bad. Milo says the weather furnace is turning on is correct. My Nan says hello, Jay and all. Another warm day of enjoyment for me. Another warm day of enjoyment for me. The crew stopped by for a moment. I walked them out later and watered the roses as well. I was out. Well, I'm glad that you're able to go in and get some water on those plants. Mr. Daniel says massive earthquake, 7.5 in Venezuela and another 5.6 in Northern California and Japan. Well, thank you so much for that information. I did not know about that. Mr. Anthony says good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Then Mr. Daniel says T-bone, steaks, and fish grilling for the 4th. Well, make sure that you are staying cool if you are going to be outside for that long period of time. Now, as we move on, Thad says, good evening, Justin and the 360 Weather family. Good evening to you. It was a beautiful day here in San Antonio. The breeze was magnificent and allowed me to trim back some of those crepe myrtles. We had a high of around 94. Well, thank you so much for that weather report, and I'm glad that you're able to get some yard work done. Trail says, greetings, everyone. Greetings to you. And that's all that I can see here. So, we're going to go on real quick and talk about the 4 areas outside of South Carolina. You might be asking, 4 areas, what am I talking about? I'm talking about San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about these 4 areas is because we have people from these areas who tune in almost nightly, and because they tune almost nightly, like Thad in San Antonio, like my cousin Cheryl in Philadelphia, we going to give them their weather forecast for them to show our appreciation. So this only takes about like a couple of minutes or so, and tonight's not really going to take that long at all, just because there's not a whole lot going on for a lot of these locations. We're going to start off with San Antonio first, with low temperatures tonight at 73, high temperatures for tomorrow at 93, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 75. No precipitation is expected at this time. In fact, no precipitation is expected all of this week, going into the weekend and into midweek next week. So you are good for the next 7 days. For now, we know that the weather can change. In terms of your temperatures will continue to stay up around the mid to maybe even close to upper 90s some days, but honestly, it really just looks like mid 90s for you as you move more into next week. And then winds, it's honestly going to be breezy for you. I mean, as you go all the way into tonight, going all the way into Sunday, I mean, you're going to have wind gusts of up to 30 miles per hour for like the next, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days or so. So it's going to be pretty breezy, kind of how it was today, maybe if not a little bit breezier. Now for Raleigh, North Carolina, you have low temperatures tonight at 66, high temperatures for tomorrow at 91, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 71. No precipitation tonight or tomorrow. Next chance of rainfall is Friday with a 30% chance of thunderstorm activity, and you look to be kind of active from Friday going into Sunday, but then Monday, things start to kind of calm down. Temperature-wise, though, it's not going to calm down. You're going to be at like 100 degrees, if not even to close to 102 next week. We know that, we just were talking about South Carolina's heat. You're over there in North Carolina, and honestly, it could be hotter over there in North Carolina than it is over here in South Carolina, potentially, for some spots. So make sure that you are staying cool. Make sure that you are staying indoors as much as you possibly can. Now, no severe weather is expected for you. And then in terms of excessive rainfall right now, it looks like that you are in the clear for days 1, 2, 3, 4, and also just for the future in general. I did not, top fan of the night for tonight. I honestly kind of blanked on that for a moment because everything on my computer is kind of dying on me right now. But we're going to go on and do top fan of the night right now. Take a little break on the 4 areas real quick. And so I'm going to have a question for tonight. And I'm going to see who was paying attention during the heat portion. During the models. Let's see. When I was going over heat index values, what was the highest temperature in terms of feel-like temperatures I saw on the map? What was the highest heat index temperature that I saw on the map from the GFS model? What was the highest temperature that we saw or that I even mentioned on the map? So that's the question for tonight. You can go on and start answering whenever. We're going to move on to Philadelphia, though. You have low temperatures tonight at 65, high temperatures for tomorrow at 87, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 67. No precipitation tonight. Tomorrow, nothing expected there. Tomorrow night, chance of thunderstorms, though. Chance of thunderstorms there for tomorrow night. And then severe weather for you, not really expected at this time. Excessive rainfall seems to not really be in your forecast for now either. So it seems like that you're good there. And then for your future, it does look like temperatures will continue to stay in the 80s for you, but don't worry, next week you'll be back up into the 90s once again. And rainfall wise, you're going to kind of just stay up into like the 40% chance or so until you move into like Friday night, Saturday, where you'll be up to around an 80% chance of rainfall. Sunday hits though, and that rain chance drops dramatically. Then finally for Duncan, Oklahoma, you have low temperatures tonight, around 73. High temperatures tomorrow at 92, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 76. In terms of your precipitation chance tonight, slight chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. No precipitation is expected there. And then just for your future, no rainfall is expected. No severe weather is really expected for you either, even though they have you under a thunderstorm chance, I guess because the ingredients are there. And then temperature-wise, is going to continue to be hot for you up to around 98 degrees or so on Tuesday. So what's going on right now in terms of the entire U.S.? Well, right now, we obviously know severe weather is... Oh, God, what in the world is going on up here? In terms of severe weather and flooding threats will continue for portions of the central U.S. through Thursday, focused from the central high plains to the mid-Mississippi Valley. Hot and dry conditions will also fuel fire weather concerns for the Intermountain West, and the dry thunderstorms may spark additional wildfires. Dangerous heat will also build across the southern U.S. Friday going on into the weekend. So a lot of that will go on as we move all the way through this weekend. We're talking about, obviously, fire weather concerns. We're talking about severe weather in the Illinois areas, in like Chicago, over inside of Wisconsin, over inside of the central U.S., over into the Four Corners area, and then red flag warnings for fire weather concerns, and heat. So all of that's going on. And so in terms of the answer, I do see the answer. In fact, I see kind of two answers. I don't know what R it was. Oh, or I couldn't read that correct. I don't know what in the world I was thinking. Or it was 110. No, your first answer was correct. We had 112, 114, 105. Mr. Daniel did get it correct first try. 112. So congratulations to you for getting on the dot. First answer attempt. So again, congrats to you for that. For winning top fan of the night for tonight. And I think that's about all I have to say here. I don't see anything else inside the chat for me. Oh, let me not forget this a second night in a row. We do have a picture that was sent in from Thad over inside of San Antonio, which is just titled Cucumber. So that's it, just Cucumber. And here it is right here on your screen. Thank you so much for sending in this picture. Again, if you want to send in a picture that's weather-related, atmosphere-related, astrology-related, just anything in that weather sphere, go on and send it in to scweather360@gmail.com. Again, that is scweather360@gmail.com. Or you can @ me on Twitter or Instagram at 360_weather. Again, that is 360_weather. That is all that I have to say for tonight. If you have not hit the like button yet or the subscribe button yet, go on and do so. We have around a good 756 subscribers, trying to get to that main goal of 800. Also share with your friends, your family members, your acquaintances, and people that you don't talk to regularly, because it's free. Also, we've had 20 people tune in tonight. Why do we only have 9 likes? If you're a part of that group of 11 that have not hit the like button yet, go on and do so. Again, like I said, it's free. And it helps me out, doesn't harm anything. And that's all I have to say here for tonight. So make sure you tune in tomorrow morning for your Thursday morning forecast update, tomorrow evening for your Thursday evening and your drought forecast update. And then remember, there will be a Friday morning forecast, but Friday evening, Saturday, and Sunday morning, there will not be a forecast. Again, that's Friday evening, Saturday, all day, and then Sunday evening, there will not be a forecast. I may do a short, if I remember to bring my tripod with me. I may do a short, because I haven't done a short in a hot minute. So I do want to do that eventually again. So I may do that this weekend. We'll see what happens. Maybe talking about the heat, or if there's a thunderstorm chance. But that's all. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday, and also congratulations to making it halfway through the work week. Hit those two buttons before you leave if you're new.